At Marlins Park in Miami, Florida, the New York Mets play the Miami Marlins. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Spectrum. Watch your show wherever you go with Spectrum TV. It's TV the way you want it. Get it now at Spectrum.com. By your local Ford dealers for great deals on Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs. Visit BuyFordNow.com. And by Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. 2 weeks into the season, and everything has been celebratory for the New York Mets. An historic start. 9 wins in their first 10 games. Big hits galore from their stars. Contributions from everybody, starting pitchers and relief pitchers alike. New players, old players, all contributing to a huge beginning for Mickey Callaway and the Mets. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Miami. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets go for their 8th straight win as they take on the Miami Marlins. Everything has gone right for the Mets in the early season, but they hit their first bump in the road today with the news that Travis d'Arnaud has a partially torn ulnar collateral ligament, may require Tommy John surgery. He is probably out for the long term.
You know, it's really been tough for d'Arnaud his entire career. Injuries have played such a big part, and with Plawecki and d'Arnaud, that duo, it seemed really like they were going to have a nice tandem to go through the season, but again, d'Arnaud's season comes up short.
Well, they had the tandem going. Now Plawecki will get the bulk of the playing time. Tomas Nido is here to fill in. Perhaps down the road, the veteran Jose Lobaton, who's not on the 40-man roster, could be the backup as well. Meanwhile, Zach Wheeler, after a stint in the minor leagues, makes his first start of the season for New York.
You know, Gary, it's going to be really interesting to watch because there's been a lot of talk on that he has changed his mechanics. I think that's pretty hard to do with only one start in El Paso, but it was a very good start and a win for Zach. Hey, listen, the starting pitching has been good, not great. It would be nice if Wheeler could keep it going.
It is the first time the Fireball 5 have all pitched in rotation, with Wheeler getting his first start of the year. Mets and Marlins from Miami, all the action on SNY. Live Horizon, the most awarded network, is now the best streaming network. And by Tri-State Buick, experience the new Buick for yourself at your nearest Buick dealer. Get to Citi Field this Saturday night, April 14th. The Mets take on the Brewers at 7:10 p.m. The fans can stay after the game and enjoy a fireworks show that will light up the Citi Field sky. For tickets, visit Mets.com/fireworks. Driver on the Majors presented by Audi. The Brewers had blown 6 straight saves since Corey Knebel got hurt. Matt Albers held on, and the Brewers beat the Cardinals today 3-2. Peter Borges had the big hit on the 12th two-run single. The Braves outlasted the Nats 5-3, and a huge bench-clearing incident in Colorado. Nolan Arenado charging the mound. Luis Perdomo throwing his glove at him and missing. Rockies won the game 6-4. Parenthetical there, Jordan Zimmerman of the Tigers hit in the jaw by a line drive tonight, and they are checking him out. 105 miles an hour. Wow. Here it's the Mets and Marlins. First pitch is coming right up. Mets will bat the pitcher ninth. That's unusual.
And you see the Toyota numbers of Jarlin Garcia, who's already appeared in 2 games in relief, 68 games in relief last year. He was developed when he was signed as a 17-year-old, though, as a starter. With Dan Straley out, he's got a chance to show if he deserves that 5th spot.
His relief outings have been like starts, 6 innings and 4 innings. As Dribble Cabrera leads off, first pitch hit on the ground to third. Brian Anderson with plenty of time throws him out, and we're underway as Cabrera grounds out for the first out of the night.
Defensively behind Garcia, you can see the infield, Brian Anderson. A misplay last night, but he's been pretty good. Rojas. Castro and Bohr, who had the 2 home runs. Chad Wallach, the son of Coach Tim Wallach, and Dietrich, Brinson, and Mabin. Brinson and Mabin, you got a lot of speed in center and right.
Now Wilmer Flores starting again against the left-hander. Hit his first home run of the year last night against a right-hander, and he takes below the knees from Garcia for ball 1. Wilmer's 4th start of the year, 2 for 5 last night, a double and that home run. 25-year-old Jarlin Garcia made a slow climb through the Marlins system, but making his first big league start tonight after 68 relief appearances last year.
Started 80 times in the minor leagues. He is starting this game from the stretch.
Well, since 2015, few have slugged against lefties the way Wilmer Flores has. Only Stanton, Martinez, and Story, the last one at altitude, have done better. Garcia had 1 and 2, and he sails the changeup outside 2-2. Wilmer hitting second in the order. Cespedes waiting on deck. Roof is open at Marlins Park. Ball tends not to carry quite as well when the roof is open, particularly tonight, as it's bounced to shortstop and Rojas plays the big hop. 2 out. The wind is blowing in from the north tonight, which will cut down on anything hit to the outfield even further.
See a little change up here from Garcia. Good sinking action, had Wilmer reaching for it, and the slip coming out of the box.
So 2 up and 2 set aside on ground balls, and here's Cespedes, who's had just 2 hits in his last 22 at bats, but both have been go-ahead hits in the 12th inning in Washington Sunday night, and then in the 9th inning his 2-run double last night. Cespedes has struck out 20 times in the Mets' first 10 games. Nobody has ever struck out more in Major League history in a team's first 10 games. He slugs this one out to left, got it off the end of the bat, and Dietrich is there to play it to retire the side. Garcia sets the Mets down 1-2-3. Zach Wheeler for his first big league start of the year when we come back. And 8 start. Chad Wallach gets his first start of the series. Lewis Brinson, the rookie center fielder, really struggling right now. Justin Bohr broke out last night with 2 2-run homers. And Zach Wheeler has had particular success against Miami, gets the start.
Yeah, his first start this season, of course. He threw a 3-hit shutout here. His only shutout of his career in 2014.
Derek Dietrich's had quite a series so far, 5 hits and 8 at bats. Has his batting average of .327, 16 hits, ties him for the most in the National League at this juncture. And he fouls off the fastball from Wheeler, 0-2. Dietrich getting most of the reps in left field to start the season. Miguel Rojas on deck, and then Starlin Castro for Miami. Wheeler last year came back to the mound after 2 years away following Tommy John surgery. And there was a period of time from about mid-April till early June when Zach was the Mets' most consistent starter. He had a 9-start stretch between April and June where he went 2-2, 2.72 when the Mets were really struggling otherwise. But after that, he hit a wall. He was diagnosed with a stress reaction in his arm, and they shut him down in July after those last 4 starts where things didn't go well at all.
Well, he definitely has a little different mechanics. His takeaway from his glove is flat. And what I mean by that, he's not cupping the baseball behind him or wrapping it. Kind of brings it out flat, straight from the glove. He has a little movement back there, but much better so far.
It's something that he worked on all during spring training. As Dietrich floats one down the line foul, he said that he was able to keep that new delivery intact in the bullpen, but when he took it into games in spring training, it was difficult to keep from reverting to what he was doing before.
He's trying to replace something that he'd been doing his entire life.
3-2 to Dietrich, and he struck him out with a slider, and Wheeler has a strikeout to start the night.
Well, defensively behind Wheeler, Frazier, Rosario, Cabrera, and Flores, who starts against left-handers. Kevin Plawecki is going to get a lot of the catching duty, and Cespedes, Lagares against left-handers also, and then Jay Bruce back out there.
Now Miguel Rojas, 3 for 9 in this series. Marlins have had a pesky quality to them over the first 2 games of this series. They've had 20 hits in the first 2 games, but the Mets scoring a pair of 2-run victories coming from behind in the late innings last night. Two and 0 to Rojas, and of course the one thing that has held Zach back throughout his career, other than injuries, has been an inability to throw as many strikes as he'd like. Driven to deep left field by Rojas. Forget that. That is way out of here. Well up in the second deck for Rojas. His second home run of the season puts the Marlins in front 1-0.
Well, Gary, you were addressing it. 2-0 count. That's what Wheeler has spent most of his career being, behind in the count. He become very predictable, and Rojas jumped all over that 2-0 fastball.
Well, Rojas hit only 1 home run all of last year. He's now hit 2 already this season, and that was well struck.
I mean, right middle, down, bomb.
Starlin Castro, 3 for 9 in this series. He's been on base all 11 games for Miami this year, and he strokes one out to right. Jay Bruce is right there, and that's the second out.
You know, when Rojas got in the box, everyone has their own little picadillos. See what he does. He measures with the bat back to the back of the batter's box. That's where he places his foot. So he knows he is the same distance each and every time he gets in the box, because they will tell you the boxes are the same in every ballpark, but they are not.
His measurements prove to be exactly correct.
Yeah.
Here's Justin Bour, who takes a strike. Bour did not homer in his first 39 at-bats this year. He homered in 2 straight at-bats last night, a pair of 2-run shots that each gave the Marlins the lead. The interesting thing about it was that he hit both the home runs to left field. No player since this ballpark opened in 2012 had ever hit 2 opposite field home runs in the same game in this park, either for or against the Marlins.
Wow, you'd think Stanton might have had one of those games, but no.
And in fact, if you go back to when they played at Joe Robbie Stadium, no Marlin ever did it there either. Hit 2 opposite field home runs in the same game in that ballpark. And now Wheeler behind on Bour, 3-1. In Bohr's case, Bohr before last night had hit 64 career home runs, only 5 to left field. But he did it twice last night, both on up and away fastballs.
From Jacob and from Rain.
Ball 4 to Bohr, and so he's on with a 2-out walk. So Wheeler's still trying to settle in. He'll take on Brian Anderson, who has really impressed us over the first couple of games of this series.
You know, you're looking for their young players, and which ones can you identify that where they really have a chance to be an everyday player. Brian Anderson looks like one of those.
He's been patient at the plate. He has put the ball in play. He's looked terrific in the field. Takes a fastball for a strike.
You certainly don't need another Brian Anderson, though, in baseball. I mean, there's so many.
Well, we have the former pitcher, the former outfielder, and the broadcaster, and of course one of the former players. The pitcher is also a broadcaster.
That's right.
Got to get the 4 of them together. Have a group photo.
I'm sure they get each other's mail.
The BA Club.
BA.
This Brian Anderson, 24 years old, out of the University of Arkansas. 3rd round pick by the Marlins in 2014. And he bounces one for Cabrera. Nice easy hop. And as Struble throws him out to end the inning. But the Marlins get off to the fast start on the Rojas home run. They lead 1-0. Features such as the MLB.TV Game of the Day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, live radio broadcasts, stats, news, and more. Download MLB at Bat today. Todd Frazier leads off in the 2nd against Harleen Garcia. Frazier 1 for 6 in this series. Hitting just .212, but you see the on-base percentage, .386. Very reflective of his year last year when he hit for a low average, but drew more walks than he ever had, and that trend has continued this year. What he has lacked so far is his first home run. Well, the Mets before tonight had been scored upon in 23 innings, and had been responded by scoring the next half inning more than half the time, which is phenomenal.
Well, yeah, it's a remarkable number.
They did it repeatedly last night. Marlins twice took the lead. Mets responded each time in the next half inning. Jay Bruce on deck, then Kevin Plawecki for the Mets in the 2nd against Garcia, whom Don Mattingly said could probably throw 90 pitches tonight in his first big league start. And he runs that fastball to the inside corner, 2-2.
Just like Caleb Smith last night, he's come out throwing lots of fastballs, especially into the right-handed hitters of the Mets.
Of course, Smith struggled with that fastball early in the game and had more effectiveness when he went to his off-speed stuff. Garcia got the side in order in the first on just 8 pitches, and Frazier chops one deep to third for Anderson, and the long throw is too high, pulling Bohr off the bag, and Frazier is on. Well, Anderson made a throwing error last night in the 9th inning that opened the door for the Mets' game-winning rally, and he commits another throwing error, giving the Mets their first base runner tonight.
Well, what happens here is he didn't do anything wrong, but he took a little too much time and airmailed it to try to get Frazier. You hope to get that ball over there a little quicker so you give Bohr a chance to get it and come back down on the bag.
I mean, he clearly has a strong arm.
Just a little wild right now.
So the Mets have the leadoff man on in the second, and here's Jay Bruce. Jay, for the first time this season, did not start last night. Came off the bench and grounded out in a pinch hitting at bat.
Infielders will always tell you if you're going to err with your throw, low is better than high. A chance for a scoop.
You can dig it out of the dirt, but you can't dig it out of the air. 2-0 to Bruce. Mets are facing a left-hand starter for the second straight night and for the third time in their first 11 games. So they haven't had all that many at-bats against left-handed pitching. Bruce is 3 for 9 against lefties so far. And he pulls one down to first. Bohr gets the out at first, and now he's got Frazier in a rundown. Rojas to Castro for the tag and the double play. 3-6-4 on the double play, 2 out and nobody on.
Nice play by Justin Bohr. That ball off the bat of Bruce took him right to the bag. So it's hit to his left, steps on the bag, makes the non-throw. I think that was the key, is that he made sure that Frazier stopped, and then once they ran the rundown perfectly.
Having already seen Bohr throw away a ball earlier in the series, is that the best play for Frazier, or is he better off continuing on and forcing Bohr to throw the
That's
ball?
the best play for Bohr. That play right there. I would have tried to get the inside and make him make a. It's a difficult throw. It's not easy.
Frazier, I guess, figured he wasn't far enough along and had a better chance to maybe make something happen by forcing the Marlins to throw it around, but they executed it well.
Watch the angle you'll get here for Bohr. He'd have to go right over the top of the head of Frazier. It would have been a difficult throw. I mean, not a real hard throw, but it would have been difficult.
Plawecki tops one foul. Well, it's a new day for Kevin Plawecki. He was going to be in a shared arrangement with his very good friend Travis d'Arnaud, and nobody was more upset about the news about Travis than Kevin was. But he's going to get to play more than he ever has. He started 66 games as a rookie back in 2015, and you know, unless the Mets go out and make a deal for a more experienced or big name catcher, in all probability Plawecki is going to end up playing a lot more than that this year.
Well, you said something interesting. They've brought up Tomas Nido, but they have a veteran, Jose Lobaton, who's in AAA, just not on the roster.
Now both those guys project as backup catchers. The question is, would the Mets be in the market for a frontline catcher? That's just foul outside the bag. Third base umpire DJ Rayburn with the call. I mean, right here in Miami, and he's on the disabled list right now, but you know, JT Realmuto, when the Marlins started trading away players in the offseason, made no secret of the fact that he'd love to get out of here.
Yeah, he would be a perfect guy. Young, athletic, former shortstop. He would be a perfect guy for this young pitching staff.
So I'm sure the Mets brass will be huddling, talking about what the possibilities are, what they'd be willing to give up, or whether they are content with riding right now with Plawecki as the prime mover behind the plate.
Well, there's going to be enough catchers out there if it doesn't work out. I was thinking about Lucroy maybe with Oakland. Gee.
Post time comes a little early tonight.
It's funny that this game wasn't earlier, right? On getaway day.
I'm always confused by those things. 2-2 coming, and Plawecki tries to lay off, and he stopped the swing in time on the changeup, and it's 3-2.
Garcia was walking off. The catcher thought, Wallach thought it was a swing. Oh yeah, got to call that.
Brian Blakeney, the first base umpire, said no. And so Plawecki works a full count with 2 out and nobody on. Ahmed Rosario would be next. And Plawecki this time went around for strike 3. So Garcia went right back to the well and got the swinging strike. This time the Mets do not respond after the Marlins score. 1-0 Miami. Mets fly home after the game tonight, take tomorrow off. They're home against the Brewers on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th.
Oh, gee.
It's not too scary. Fireworks on Saturday. 3 games with the Brewers, 3 with the Nats on the upcoming homestand. Cameron Maybin leads off in the home second for the Marlins. Maybin playing right field tonight. He was a late signee by the Marlins, didn't sign until spring training was already underway in February.
Got himself a World Series ring with the Astros last year. You know, it was interesting to me to think about Cameron Maybin because many moons ago he was considered like Lewis Brinson is now, a can't miss prospect with tons of talent. And Maybin's been a good player, but not the player I think a lot of people thought he would become.
Memory serves. Didn't he start out in the Tigers organization?
Yes, he did. Yes.
And they trade. Was it Dontrell Willis they traded?
Dontrell Willis.
And now back full circle to the Marlins after a tour through many towns. He's had some years. He had a year in San Diego when it looked like he had finally blossomed.
Colorado, did he have a year?
So he's obviously got a world of talent, but it's just never fully come together for him. And Wheeler strikes him out with a slider. Second strikeout for Zach. He's found the leadoff hitter each of the first 2 innings. So I'm looking at his fingers there. Noah Syndergaard, as has been his wont often, came up with several blisters on his fingers the other night. Said that wasn't as big a concern as his hair. Said his hair was whipping in his face on Monday night. Might have to go to the man bun on the mound. Lewis Brinson bluffing bunt, and he went through with it, 0-1.
Russell Martin for the Blue Jays does the man bun behind the plate now.
At least it's all kind of covered up, you know.
Right.
Have we had a man bun pitcher yet in the big leagues?
I haven't seen a man bun pitcher. I think Syndergaard did pitch with a man bun in spring training once. I'm not going to get on anyone's hair. I had some of the worst hair you could ever see.
Right back to Wheeler. 2 out. Well, your hair was very much of its era, Ron. I mean,
copying everyone else.
You
You're
know,
right.
if you're going to have a mullet, you have to have it in a mullet era.
Well, what I was thinking, especially during 1986, I was thinking that it's good luck. You know, in hockey they wear the beards right through the playoffs, and I thought it would be good luck to just let the hair grow. And then all those pictures now you see in 1986, it's a little embarrassing. But
well, everybody thinks you always wore a turtleneck when you pitch.
that's right. That's right.
Chad Wallach swings and misses.
I'm trying to be James Bond out there. I was just freezing, folks.
Chad Wallach, rookie catcher, got a taste of big league time with the Reds last year. Came to the Marlins' his original organization on waivers this winter, and gets to play on the same team for which his dad is the bench coach.
Pretty cool. There it is.
There's the bun. It's a bench bun right now, but if a mound bun would have a little more impact.
It's unusually windy here today.
Wallach drops one the other way, and he's got himself a 2-out hit. So on an 0-2 fastball, Chad Wallach delivers just his 3rd hit in 22 at-bats this season.
Well, in an era where you don't want to waste any pitches because the pitch count's so important, I've seen more and more 0-2 hits the last half-dozen years.
That's an outstanding point that I don't think enough people have even thought about. But as a pitcher, when you know that a certain pitch count is going to get you lifted from the game, you can't necessarily slice and dice the way you used to.
That's right.
Arlene Garcia looking for his first big league hit. And I'm not sure exactly what he's doing, squaring to bunt with 2 out. There we go. That's what we're talking about.
That is just obscene almost.
But you know, in the 80s, look at Marty Noble.
Marty Noble in the background, photobombing me.
In those days, that was, you know, that's the way it was.
Just,
I mean, think about women's hairdos in the 80s, all that big hair. And Garcia strikes out to end the inning. I don't think you have anything to be ashamed of. At least you had hair, Ronnie.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
My hair was completely gone by the 80s. first team in Major League history to have 4 players who played 150 games in a season, all gone the next season.
Yeah, jeez.
And there they are. Christian Yelich, we might see Sunday. He's eligible to come off the disabled list from an oblique Sunday, and he thinks he might be back by then. Gordon, of course, in Seattle. We've already seen Ozuna with the Cardinals. We'll see Stanton later on this year with the Yankees. Ahmed Rosario leads off the 3rd inning against Harleen Garcia and takes a strike. Rosario's had a good series, 3 for 8, a pair of doubles, hitting a .290 on the year. In the 7-hole tonight after hitting 9th most of the time this year. In fact, Wayne Randazzo caught this. His first Met game this season in which both pitchers are batting 9th. You wouldn't think you'd have to point that out.
Right.
But it is the case.
This young man has an idea, Garcia. He was pretty effective for him last year out of the bullpen. 68 appearances. Signed as a 17-year-old out of the Dominican Republic.
Hit right at the shortstop, Rojas. He guns down the half-stepping Rosario, 1 away.
Rojas is a nice little player, isn't he? I mean, you don't think of him as an everyday kind of player, a guy who could move around the infield.
So that was really interesting, Ronnie. I don't know if you caught this, but after Rosario did not run full speed to first base, Ruben Amaro, the first base coach, said something to him on his way back to the dugout. When you have Rosario's speed, a routine ground ball to shortstop is always an opportunity for a hit.
Yes.
And it wasn't like he wasn't running. He was running. He just wasn't running at a sprint.
Well, I look at it this way. You know, anytime you can put some pressure on the defense, you never know what's going to happen. A guy that runs half of his speed, Todd Frazier did that when Anderson made the error.
I mean, that's a tool that he has that not a lot of players have, the ability to beat out a routine ground ball.
More importantly, a coach said something to him.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of times where no one says anything.
Juan Lagares is sitting 8th in the order. Grounds one down to first, short hop by Bohr, and he takes it himself for the 2nd out. So Garcia getting a lot of ground balls the first time through the batting order, and he's retired the first 2 here in the 3rd. Well, it will be interesting to see next time Rosario hits a ground ball like that, to see how he approaches it. Here's Wheeler. And he takes a fastball strike.
This left-hander's got to be tough for a guy like Wheeler up there taking the at-bat. Kind of slings it from the side.
Took his best hack. 0-2. '25-year-old Harleen Garcia making his first big league start, and so far so good. He's yet to allow a hit. 1-2 to Wheeler. And any length that Miami can get from a starter, much appreciated, because their bullpen has thrown more innings so far than any team in the majors. On the inside corner, Wheeler's caught looking, and Garcia faces the minimum over the first 3 innings. He's got a 1-0 lead. leading off the inning. Last night we got into a discussion about perceived velocity, and especially in terms of Jacob deGrom's ability to release the ball more than 7 feet in front of the rubber, which makes the fastball that he throws look so much faster to the hitter. Steve Gelbs has more on this. His report tonight is brought to you by Volkswagen. Steve?
Yeah, Gary, it's interesting when you talk about how teams, specifically the Mets, evaluate and prepare for opposing pitchers. Yes, perceived velocity is now a big deal. What does the hitter see and perceive the velocity to be? But there's another aspect of this, and that's spin rate on the fastball, which might be a little surprising. Why would spin rate matter on a fastball? Now, here's the reason. If you get a certain amount of backspin on that fastball, that's where the ball stays somewhat flat and doesn't have a natural dip, and the perception becomes to the hitter that that ball is rising in the zone. You hear all the time about the rising fastball. Physically, it's actually impossible, but that's how it's perceived by the hitter. So in the case of Jacob deGrom, what makes him so nasty is, yes, he's got the extension, 98th percentile in extension in the league, but 80th percentile in spin rate as well, a deadly combination.
The gravitational pull naturally wants to move the ball down after it leaves your hand. With that backspin like Steve's talking about, it keeps the ball truer. If it's truer, it appears to rise to the hitter who is used to the ball going down as it approaches the plate.
And it's one of the reasons why deGrom has such a high swing and miss rate on his fastball. Both that extension in front of the rubber combined with the spin rate. Derek Dietrich struck out his first time up, and Wheeler runs a full count. Zach has walked 1, struck out 3 over the first 2 innings. Gave up the home run to Miguel Rojas, who waits on deck. And Dietrich down on strikes. Zach blows him away with the fastball. Second time he struck out Dietrich. His 4th strikeout through the first 10 batters.
Well, that's impressive because Dietrich has been the hottest hitter for this Marlins team all year and in this series.
You know, so 1 out and nobody on. Now Rojas.
Sorry, Gary. It's just the transformation here from seasons ago when, you know, Zach Wheeler traded for Carlos Beltran, was a can't miss guy. He was going to be a big winner and a big starter. And of course, injuries took 2 years of his career away. The challenge of throwing strikes has taken away some of his effectiveness. And here we are on a Wednesday night in Miami, and he's pitching for his baseball life.
I remember the hullabaloo of his first day in the big leagues. Big press conference back in his hometown in Atlanta, pitching the 2nd game of a doubleheader. Matt Harvey went out and blew away the Braves in the first game, and then Wheeler the same in the nightcap. What they call it, Super Tuesday?
That's right. I think we called it Super Tuesday.
It's 5 years ago now. Keeps the slider away from Rojas, and it's 1-2.
What I thought was interesting, and this is how much acclaim he had, is that they doused him with beer after the game. Like, you know, you're a special kid, and this is going to be the first of many.
And we saw flashes of that,
yeah.
And we've seen it, and never more so than the game he pitched here in 2014. Ground ball right at Cabrera. The only complete game and shutout of Wheeler's career. He beat the Marlins 1-0. I was looking at the Marlins lineup from that game. Every player who started in that game is gone.
Really?
Justin Bour did pinch hit, but he's the only guy who's still here who played in that game again. So that's only 4 years ago.
You know, the shame of it all is that there are guys like Wheeler all the time with all this talent that never pull it together. It's just it's how the game has and will always be.
Well, a little bit later on, we're going to be talking with Mickey Callaway from the Mets dugout during the bottom of the 4th inning, so stay tuned for that. Castro pulls 1 foul. Well, in Wheeler's case, you know, even if he pitches well a time or two, it's not guaranteed a spot in this rotation because, you know, the Mets signed Jason Vargas to be a starting pitcher, and when Vargas is ready to go, you have to figure he is slotting into that rotation. Strike 3 called. It's Castro looking at a fastball on the outside edge. 5 strikeouts in the first 3 innings for Zach Wheeler. Asdrubal Cabrera will be coming up to lead off for the Mets in the fourth. 2 home runs last night for Cabrera, who's off to a roaring start. We're going to the fourth inning of Miami. It's a beautiful night in South Florida. A little cooler than the norm. Wind blowing in, roof open, about 75 degrees. We'll miss this weather.
Yes, we will.
It's supposed to be nice over the weekend, Friday, Saturday in New York. And it might cool down after that.
Ties on the weekend?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Asdrubal Cabrera tops one a few feet in front of the plate. Chad Wallach pounces on it. 1 away. A worm killer from Cabrera for the first out.
Haven't heard that in a long time.
Now Wilmer Flores, who grounded out to short his first time up. Spectrum high-speed pitch. Zach Wheeler topping out at 97. And Wilmer bangs one off his leg. 1-1.
So we heard Steve talking about the backspin rate that kind of keeps the ball true, where it looks like it's rising. Garcia with that arm action is just the opposite. I bet you he's got side spin action on his ball because it tends to sink at the very end. That's why you see a lot of balls hit on the ground.
He's already got 7 outs of his first 10 on the ground tonight. He runs that fastball inside, 2-1. .68 of those relief appearances last year, 2 this year. Most recently Thursday of last week against the Phillies, who went 4 innings in relief. That's grounded down to third. Another chance for Anderson. And again, Bohr is off the bag, but he gets back to it in time. So Anderson a little erratic with his throws the last 2 nights. This time he gets the out.
Well, his form is he throws the ball straight over the top, but he has a little run to it. So it wants to always sneak up the line, and first basemen hate a guy that throws where the ball sneaks up the line because it puts him in harm's way of an injury with the oncoming runner.
So quickly 2 out and nobody on as The Mets continue to pound the ball into the ground against Jarlin Garcia. Cespedes has recorded the only fly ball out against him. He flied out to left in the first inning. Good changeup by Garcia, 1-1. Cespedes looking for his first hit against a lefty this year, 0 for 11 with 7 strikeouts. He said, I may not be feeling my best, but the only way I can get out of the slump is by playing every day. And Mickey Callaway has given him all the rope he wants right now. Says if Cespedes is ready to play, he's going to play. May not be that way every day this year, but that's the case for now.
Well, at some point, especially because of the age of some of the players on the Mets ball club, Callaway is going to have to be the adult and make the decisions to sit guys every once in a while.
Cespedes and Cabrera are the only 2 Mets who've started every game. And a fly ball hit out to center field. Brinson has it lined up. 4 hitless innings for Jarlin Garcia. When we come back, Mickey Callaway joins us from the Mets dugout. Justin Bour leads off, flies one out to left field. Cespedes comes on to get it, and we are very pleased to be joined from the Mets dugout by manager Mickey Callaway. Mickey, you guys are off to an historically fast start. What has surprised you the most about this?
You know, I don't know that I can say surprised, but I'm just proud of the way the guys are playing. You know, they're just playing solid, fundamental baseball, running the bases the right way. The pitchers are getting ahead, and it's been really fun.
You lose Travis d'Arnaud, perhaps for the long term. What's the biggest thing you're concerned about with that?
You know, he's just one of our leaders. You know, obviously he knows all the pitchers and he's been around, and he can hit a little bit. So we're going to miss that part of him for sure.
You know, Mickey, the game of baseball today has become a bullpen game, and more so in April. How challenging has it been? Put the guys in the right spots.
You know what? It's always a challenge to make sure you're putting guys in to face the people they should be. Wow, what a play here. But the off days have really helped and take the pressure off. So we're going to have to really hone in on that once we start playing, 10, 12 games in a row. And that'll definitely make it more challenging.
When you sit in that dugout next to Gary DiSarcino, what is the thing you lean on him the most for?
Every little thing. We're constantly talking about this and that, and what do we want to do here if this situation arises. We're just trying to be prepared for whatever might happen. I was saying it the other day. You know, my moment is kind of, you know, 2 or 3 batters ahead or 2 or 3 innings ahead, and I can't really live in the actual moment, so it's a little bit different.
Mickey, thanks so much for joining us. Continued success.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Callaway joining us from the Mets dugout.
That's cool talking to the manager. I mean, yeah, if you watched his eyes darting back and forth from the camera, he's looking in for our shot, but also darting, and you could hear him say, "What a play by Todd Frazier." It was pretty cool.
I'm not sure we've ever actually done that before with the manager during the action. I think we've done it between innings. I don't think we've done it during the action. We're happy that he was kind enough to do it. And a very quick inning as Cameron Maben flies out to right. A 1, 2, 3, 5 pitch inning for Zach Wheeler. We go to the 5th in Miami, 1-0 Marlins. I have to tell you, I'm not a cigar guy.
Yeah.
But watching them make the cigars is fascinating.
You know, when I have my golf tournament for charity, we always have someone who makes cigars on the property because golfers love cigars, and I could watch them forever. It's real art.
And it smells really good.
It smells good to me until you light them.
Right. That's exactly what I mean. You know, when I worked in the minor leagues, I did a year in Durham. And the old ballpark in Durham was right across the street from the cigarette factories.
Oh, wow.
And the smell of tobacco in the streets there was pervasive. And it's, again, it smells great until you light it up. Todd Frazier leading off in the 5th. Mets looking for their first hit against Harleen Garcia.
Kind of like the pervasive smell you have in Denver when you go to the Rockies games. Just a little
that's
different.
a little different smell. Just ask John Boehner.
That's right.
Frazier gets under one to center field. Brinson with plenty of room. And Harleen Garcia just rolling right along. 51 pitches to get the first 13 outs. They wanted some length from him. They said he could go 90. 90 could take him a long way the way he's going. 1 out and nobody on. Here's Bruce, who grounded into a double play his first time up. Mets have had only 1 base runner. Frazier reached on an error in the 2nd. Bruce grounded into the double play, and Garcia has faced the minimum through the first 4 1/3. And Bruce takes the changeup off the plate for ball 1. Full shift on against Jay.
Shift still pronounced, even lefty-lefty matchup.
And for a rare time tonight, Garcia falls behind. It's 3-0. 3-0 was a big count for the Mets last night, as Dribble Cabrera, who had only put one ball in play on a 3-0 count his entire career before last night, got a 3-0 fastball and hit it out of the ballpark to tie the game. Bruce has swung far more than that on 3-0 in his career. He takes this one for a strike. '25-year-old Harleen Garcia behind 3-1 on Bruce, and he walked him. First walk of the night for Garcia. And the Mets have a one-out base runner. Here's Plawecki, who struck out his first time up. Kevin now 0 for his last 10. Callaway made it clear, though, talking about Plawecki tonight. He said, I don't want him to worry about his offense. He's got to put his defense first, work with the pitching staff, call the game, and the offense is secondary. I like the way Kevin talked about it tonight. I guess I've heard catchers say this before, but not in the same words. He said, I play 2 games every night. I catch 9 innings behind the plate, and I'm an offensive player for 4 at-bats.
Wow, and he separates it in his own mind.
Said I play 2 different games every night. I thought that was interesting. I never heard a catcher put it that way before. But I guess you have to, right? The things you have to think about are so different.
Well, I've honestly thrown to guys who really just concentrate on the defensive end. I've thrown to guys who really just concentrate on the offensive end, and very, very few can do both at such a high level. Of course, you know, the late Gary Carter is as good as you've ever seen. You know, as good as Mike Piazza was, and I mean, he's no better offensive catcher. Maybe Johnny Bench. You know, he wasn't ranked up there with Gary Carter defensively, who was. Not many.
I mean, you think about guys like Bench, Pudge Rodriguez, Carter. There aren't a lot who were able to combine elite offensive skills with elite defense. That's inside. It's 3-0. So all of a sudden, plate getting a little tighter on Harleen Garcia. Walk to Bruce, and now 3-0 to Plawecki with Ahmed Rosario on deck.
We've had 2 umpires the first 2 nights who are more pitcher friendly. Sam Holbrook is more hitter friendly.
Holbrook, the crew chief, working the plate tonight.
And I know I get told this all the time. Umpires, they all call the same game. It's not true. Everyone has their own kind of way of seeing things. And that's all right.
And you can now document who gives the pitcher a little bit of an edge and who doesn't. That's outside, ball 4, so back-to-back walks. And the Mets get a runner to second base for the first time tonight.
Good time for Nieves to come out. There it is. Juan was such a good young left-handed starting pitcher when he first started with the Brewers. In fact, he threw a no-hitter, but injuries curtailed his career.
He came out of Avon Old Farms,
Old Farms,
in Connecticut.
I think he was 19-1 in his final year, senior season.
By the way, the Brewers, they could use him now. Tomorrow, Ray Lucas joins Mark Malusis and Dan Grassa for a special NFL draft edition of Boom or Bust on Loudmouth, presented by Cheapo Air, tomorrow at 5:30, only on SNY. So here's Rosario, first and second and 1 out. He grounded to short his first time up. Mets have been behind since the first inning. And Rosario attacks the first pitch fastball. 0-1.
This is what I like about this Mets team, is that even after a couple of walks, they're not tentative. If you throw a ball in where they want it, they are aggressive.
Never more evident than with the Adrian Gonzalez grand slam the other night after 3 straight walks. Rosario 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position to start the year. The runner goes from second. The throw to third by Wallach, and Bruce is tagged out. So Bruce, who snuck a stolen base earlier this season, trying to steal third with 1 out and gets gunned down for the second out. Plawecki held it first.
He was very jumpy at second base. You could really feel that he was going, but look at Wallach's great footwork and the strike. You can see that front foot of Bruce came up, and the third baseman Anderson tags the back leg before it gets to the base, although it was very close.
Pretty close.
Yep.
But he got him. No challenge by the Mets. So 2 out Plawecki at first, a 2-strike count on Rosario. And he hits it sharply, but right at Rojas. He gets the force play, and just like that, Garcia's out of the inning. Mets aggression on the base pass that time bites him. Halfway through in Miami, where they continue to fashion cigars. It's an art. It's truly an art. Well, ever since Matt Harvey arrived in the major leagues in 2012, the Mets have dreamed of these 5 pitching in rotation, which they have done on this road trip for the first time ever, with Zach Wheeler's start tonight. That is what they have all done in their careers.
And I think, you know, to a great degree, Syndergaard and DeGrom are exactly where you want them. But I think when Mickey Callaway and Dave Island came over, they were looking at some of the greatest arms you could see. Now, arms don't translate into success, as we've seen so far, but that's where he wants to go.
Lewis Brinson leading off the home 5th, gets jammed and fouls off the fastball 1-2. Now, Wheeler's looked good tonight. He gave up the long home run to Rojas on a grooved fastball in the first inning, but other than that, very little sharp contact against him. And he's been around the plate. He's walked only 1. Curveball fouled off. Is actually, so far, he's pitched very much like he did in his 1 minor league start this year, when he went 5 innings and allowed 1 run, 3 hits.
Well, listen, it sounds easier than it is, but if he doesn't pitch from behind in the count, in hitters' counts, he's electric.
Brinson trying to snap an 0 for 23 skid after hitting a comebacker his first time up. And he strikes out on the slider. Strikeout number 5 for Wheeler. Well, Wheeler got here the other day. He talked about the mechanical change he was trying to make. Let's take a look.
Well, you can see on the left when he takes the ball back, the right is in tonight's ball game. Over the head, that's not a big deal, whether you come to the waist or go over the head. But here's the big deal. On the left, he drops his arm right down to his side. On the right, he's extending it back. That's the way you're supposed to do it. That's the proper mechanics. And why is it? Because he would wrap or cup the ball behind him, and it's hard to repeat your motion when you cup the ball. On the right-hand side, when you bring it straight back, it's straight back and straight through. Makes it so much easier.
It's very reminiscent of what Matt Harvey has had to try and deal with as well, right?
Matt Harvey, I did it early in my career, and it was hurting my shoulder. So I literally had to spend all winter up against the wall, just raising my hand up against the wall so I wouldn't drop it by my side and cup the baseball or wrap the baseball. So I had the same issue.
Now in Zach's case, that's something he's always done, so it's been harder to break the habit.
You know, my issue is that I wasn't really formally trained like a lot of these young men to be a pitcher. So I had a lot of bad habits that I had to get rid of quickly.
Wallach has one of the 2 hits against Wheeler tonight. An opposite field single in the second. Gets this one slowly to Rosario. And Ahmed throws him out, 2 away. That is 9 in a row retired by Wheeler since the Wallach base hit. The only problem is the Mets haven't had a hit over the first 5 innings against Jarlin Garcia. 2 guys making their first start of the season. In Garcia's case, the first start of his career, and they have been lights out. And here is Garcia, who struck out his first time up. All best wishes to Jordan Zimmerman, who was always one of our favorites to watch when he was in a Nats uniform. Got hit in the jaw by a line drive off the bat of Jason Kipnis tonight in the first inning.
Didn't you tell me it was 105 miles an hour off the bat?
Yep.
Gee.
Hopefully not too much damage. Frazier throws out Garcia. 10 in a row retired by Wheeler. On to the 6th we go. 1-0 Miami. 6-game homestand. The Milwaukee Brewers are in town for 3. Coverage begins at 6:30 Friday night on SNY. For more on the Brewers, let's check in with Steve.
Well, early this season, it's been all about the injuries with the Brewers. Christian Yelich, Corey Knebel, the closer, the two notable ones right now, but they're also without Jimmy Nelson, Stephen Vogt, Boone Logan. Lorenzo Cain has missed the last 2 games with a light quad injury, although he should be good to go on Friday. So that's where the Brewers are at right now, though they've stayed afloat, 7-6 on the season. As for the guys that are still in the lineup, Eric Thames starting the season just like he started last year. Hit another home run today. That's 5 through 12 games for him. Last year, 7 through 12 games for Eric Thames.
Yeah, their biggest problem is that bullpen without Knebel. They were able to hang on today, but only by their fingernails. Alvarez came in in the 9th, gave up a couple of hits, and was able to get out of the jam. But they had blown 6 straight saves after Knebel got hurt.
You know, they've got a lot of good young everyday players, though. Arcia, the shortstop, Santana, the right fielder, and others.
Jonathan VR is off to a really good start.
That's right, VR, who 2 seasons ago had a breakout season. But all winter long, you're looking for them to get that starting pitcher piece, and they didn't get it. But they have some capable pitchers pitching this weekend. Zach Davies, Chase Anderson, and Julius Chassin.
And of course, the 2 guys they went out and got in the offseason were Yelich and Cain, and right now, at least, they're both hurt. Milwaukee came close last year. They were a big surprise, and they felt as though those acquisitions could push them a little bit closer, if not over the top, in that Central.
You know, they ended up only 6 games back, but you have to remember at the All-Star break,
Garris lines one to right, and Maven makes the sliding catch, and the Mets are still without a hit, 1 away.
They were 5.5 up at the All-Star break, so it was a precipitous fall. Hardest hit ball hit so far by the Mets. A nice play by Maven and Wright. Center fielder by trade, great speed.
So 1 out and nobody on. And now Wheeler. Mets had their only scoring chance in the 5th after Garcia walked a couple, but then Bruce tried to steal 3rd and was thrown out, and that took the Mets out of a scoring chance. It's been quite a pitcher's duel between Garcia and Wheeler. Miguel Rojas' first inning home run, the only tally. It's a nasty slider, and it's 0-2.
Garcia's making me think of Wilson Alvarez when I'm watching this first start. Was it Alvarez's second start?
It was his second major league start when he threw the no-hitter. Strike 3 called. Strikeout number 3 for Garcia. And there are 2 out in the inning. Well, he's made it look easy.
Well, you know, I think, you know, what this ball club that's challenged because of all the changes they've made. I mean, these are the silver linings for Don Mattingly and his staff when he can see a young pitcher throw strikes.
Here's Cabrera, who's 0 for 2, twice has grounded out. Struble started the night with a 9-game hitting streak after his 2 home runs last night. Second time in his career he's hit them from both sides of the plate. And both times he's done that, he's done it as a Met, which is a little surprising because he hit a lot of home runs in Cleveland.
28 with Cleveland one year, didn't he? Or in the 20s anyway.
Mets switch hitter who has hit home runs from both sides of the plate the most times, Carlos Beltran
Hundley
and Todd Hundley. They each did it 5 times as a Met. Bobby Bonilla 4, Jose Reyes and Asdrubal Cabrera 2. Those are the only ones who've done it more than once. This time he takes a 3-0 pitch after he hit a home run on a 3-0 pitch last night. Wilmer Flores would be next. Cabrera pounds another one into the ground. I mean, 3-1. He's looking for a pitch he can hit out of the ballpark, and Garcia's got that nice movement.
Yeah, they just can't lift it so far. I think the way to approach a pitcher like this, and it's hard to know, that's, you know, they saw him in relief, so you got to try to go up the middle the other way, because most of the pitches, that one wasn't, are on the outer part and they've got some sink on it.
Well, the Mets never had much success against him when they faced him in relief either. This is popped up in foul ground. We'll go back into the crowd. 5 appearances for Garcia against the Mets last year. He never allowed a run.
Big kid, 6'3", 6'4", 220 pounds.
Soccer player growing up, didn't move to baseball till he was 15. In his 8th year in the Marlins organization, finally getting a chance to start a big league game and doing incredibly well. 3-2 coming, and as Dribble pops it up, Rojas onto the outfield grass waiting for it. Side retired. 6 no-hit innings for Jarlin Garcia in his first big league start. 1-0 Miami. Bottom of the 6th inning. 3rd time around the batting order for Zach Wheeler. Derek Dietrich waves at a pitch out of the strike zone. 0-1. Dietrich's been up twice, struck out both times. Miguel Rojas, who's responsible for the only run of this game, on deck, and then Starlin Castro in the 6th. And Dietrich tops one up the line, a foul ball on a changeup by Wheeler, and it's 0-2. Well, it looks like Jarlin Garcia, after 5 innings and 77 pitches, or 6 innings,
6 innings
and 77 pitches, is done. No hitter or no hitter.
These are the moments, folks, I just cannot make a comment because it's going to be bad. Sorry. Or I guess I did make a comment.
Well, the curious thing about that, there are 2.
Yeah.
One is that he had already pitched 6 innings in a relief stint this year, so he was pretty well stretched out. And the other is that Mattingly had said yesterday that he felt as though he could easily get 90 pitches out of Garcia. Dietrich strikes out for the 3rd time, and Wheeler continues to roll. He's now retired 11 straight. Let's check in with Eamon McEnany in the studio for a game break, brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. Braves came back repeatedly in that game to get the victory and salvage the finale of that series after Scherzer and Strasburg shut them down the first 2 games. Miguel Rojas ambushed Wheeler on a 2-0 fastball and hit one as far as he's ever hit one in his life in the 1st inning. His 2nd home run of the year after hitting 1 all of last year. And that has been the only run in this incredibly well-pitched game.
2-0 again now. after the changeup.
Drew Steckenrider, whom we saw last night and was impressive, is up in the bullpen for Miami. So he will take over for Garcia in the 7th with a no-hit bid intact. There's a strike, 2-1.
Different choice there from Wheeler on the 2-0 count. He went inside with the fastball.
Rojas hits this one out to center, but Lagares has plenty of room. 2 out. And Wheeler is now set down 12 in a row since Chad Wallach's 2-out single in the 2nd.
That's how you pitch in this ballpark. If you get behind, you keep the ball away. Let them hit it as far as they want to center field. A guy like Rojas, even though he's hit the home run, probably not going to hit it out of center.
Especially with the roof open when the ball tends not to carry as well.
Yeah, use your ballpark to your advantage if you can.
It's a little easier poke than it was a couple of years ago. They moved the fences in, but it's still a big center field. Starlin Castro has flied out and struck out 0 for 2. Well, if you're the Mets, you have got to be absolutely thrilled that Jarlin Garcia is coming out of this game. Fly ball out to right. Bruce is there. Wheeler has been fantastic. He's retired 13 in a row, but he's down 1-0 as the Mets come to bat in the 7th against the Marlins bullpen. Impression tonight, but he leaves with a no-hit bid intact after 6 innings and 77 pitches. Drew Steckenrider will pick it up from there.
He's been their best out of their bullpen so far.
Struck out the side last night in the 7th. Comes in to face Wilmer Flores in the 7th tonight. Wilmer's 0 for 2, couple of ground ball outs, and say it again, if you're the Mets, you have to be thrilled that Garcia is out of this game. And that's lined toward the hole, and a great play by Rojas for the first down. So Rojas, who has contributed the game's only run, now contributes the best defensive play to date, takes a base hit away from Flores.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be the first hit from the Mets. Went far to his right and laid out and made a perfect play.
It's another guy who wants to keep his job, you know. JT Riddle's going to come back from a shoulder injury. Rojas would like you to believe that he is an everyday shortstop. Here's Cespedes, who's flied out twice. Steckenrider last night struck out Cespedes, the third of his 3 strikeouts. Rosario, Conforto, and then Cespedes in the 7th. Speed pitch fouled off, and it's 0-2. Todd Frazier on deck. There have been only 2 hits in this game. The Rojas home run in the first, a 2-out single by Chad Wallach in the second. Mets have not managed to hit. Zach Wheeler's retired his last 13 batters on the other side. Oh, and by the way, the Mets have not had a starting pitcher throw a pitch in the 7th inning yet this year. Looks like Zach Wheeler will be the first. Nobody's up in the Mets bullpen, and why would they be? Zach's only thrown 75 pitches. 2-2. And it's down. Ball 3. Full count to Cespedes.
Well, you wasted 2 pitches up, and that got him now with missing on that slider to the 3-2 count. I would think this young pitcher is going to choose a slider on the 3-2 count. That plays into the strength of Cespedes.
Fastball popped up. Castro tracking it. Stays with it. 2 out. Watch SNY Mets games on the go on any device with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Sound effects, no extra charge.
Jeez.
Here's Frazier, who reached on an error in the 2nd, flied out in the 5th, 0 for 2. Chris Heston. Max Scherzer.
That's right.
Which was the last one? Scherzer, right?
Scherzer.
It was after Heston. They were both in the same season in 2015.
Scherzer, though, was in September, right?
I think it was the last weekend of the season.
Yeah.
Those are the last 5 no-hitters in the big leagues. Edison Volquez the only one last year. 0-2 to Frazier.
Arrieta down there twice as a Cub, back-to-back years.
Ooh. Frazier somehow did not get hit by that pitch. Steckenrider hasn't a lot of run yet this year through his first 6 outings. He's walked only 1, struck out 7. It's been very impressive. And Frazier lunging for that slider, and it's still 1-2. Drew Steckenrider out of the University of Tennessee.
It's very impressive. He doesn't overthrow. One of the things about pitching is how easy is it for you to throw hard? He makes it look easy.
Big guy. Line left center field, and the Mets have their first hit of the night. After being held without a hit for 6 2/3, Todd Frazier breaks it up with a solid single. And with the spell broken, we'll see what damage they can do.
Tried to go upstairs with the fastball, but it was away, not in where Wallace wanted it. Sorry, Wallach wanted it. And drops in.
Not a terrible pitch.
It's a good pitch as far as a location, but when you watch Frazier hit, he lunges after the ball, so he's stronger on the outer part than he would be in the inner part.
So the tying run on first with 2 down, and here's Bruce, who walked his last time up, was later caught trying to steal 3rd, and he takes the fastball inside. Full shift on against Bruce. Left side almost completely open. And he flies one foul down the left side. 1-1.
This, to me, the situation in the game, it's a perfect time to have this kind of shift. Because Jay Bruce is just trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, or an extra base hit at least.
You see the overshift with Rojas alone on the left side. Jay has had 1 home run this year. It was a grand slam in Washington. Change up down, 2-1. Kevin Plawecki would be next. Bruce pops one foul, and that'll come out of play. 2-2. Well, the Mets have been held in check tonight after winning the first 5 games of this road trip. Last time the Mets swept a road trip of 6 or more games, 1991. You had one of those.
I did. I helped out.
You did. It was kind of bittersweet, though. Bruce goes down on strikes. You had a win on that 6-0 trip, but it was your last win as a Met.
Oh.
You're 99th. Steckenrider takes care of Bruce with a slider. Mets get their first hit, but still trail 1-0. Zach Wheeler is about to become the first Met starter to throw a pitch in the 7th inning this season, and it's inside the Justin Bour, ball 1. I don't think anybody had Zach in the pool.
No, right?
When the year began.
Well, especially when he didn't make the team.
Exactly. And the curveball misses 2-0. Bour, a dangerous hitter leading off the home 7th, has walked and flied out tonight 0 for 1. Brian Anderson on deck.
I'll even go this far, Gary, in taking out that he's throwing a ball in the 7th inning. This is the best start by a starting pitcher this year for the Mets, even though they're 9-1.
Rounded toward the middle. There's Cabrera to flag it. Bour retired, 1 away. 14 in a row for Wheeler. We check in with the studio at Game Break with Eamon McEnany. Thanks, Eamon. You know, Perdomo said afterward, it got away from me. I don't know if he was talking about the pitch to Arenado or the glove.
Can't throw your glove at a player. You just took a 90+ mile-an-hour fastball, threw it behind the back of Arenado, and then you throw the glove at him. If you're going to do that, be man enough to stand out there and go toe-to-toe.
Well, didn't Bryce Harper throw his helmet at a pitcher?
That's not good either.
I will say this. If you're going to throw your glove, at least hit the guy who's only 20 feet away.
Arenado looked incensed. There had been some Padres hitters in that series that were hit. So it kind of was one of those things where at some point one of the Rockies was going to go down.
Toward the hole, circling it is Rosario. The throw on the move, right on target for the second out. Nicely done by Ahmed, 2 away.
I like how he closed the gap on that ball. Got it shallower than it was hit. And this is hard to throw that ball across your body and that accurate. Arenado was quoted, said, "Hey, listen, I knew there might be some repercussions for our pitchers. I just didn't think it was going to be me."
Well, he also said, "I'm not sure it's over."
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to watch. Of course, they're division rivals. Another ground ball. This one off the bat of Maben. Similar chance for Rosario. Closer play, but he got him. Side retired. Ahmed Rosario showing off. Zach Wheeler has retired 16 in a row if the call stands. Don Mattingly has his hand out to hold. And we'll see whether the Marlins choose to challenge. Tim Wallach says nope. And so the side is indeed retired. 16 in a row retired by Zach Wheeler. What a performance. Ahmed Rosario helping him out. And Flores with a nice pick as well. We head for the 8th. By Harleen Garcia. He came out. Drew Steckenrider gave up the hit. He's done after 1 inning, and now the hard-throwing right-hander Tyrone Guerrero is in. Miguel Rojas will move from shortstop to first. Yadiel Rivera will play shortstop and bat 9th, and the pitcher Guerrero goes in Justin Boer's spot in the batting order.
Well, we've seen it's really been a Jekyll and Hyde kind of early start to the year for Guerrero. 10 strikeouts in 6 1/3 inning, but the 8.53 ERA.
Throws extremely hard. Kevin Plawecki gets drilled by the first pitch. After the Mets lost Travis d'Arnaud to an elbow injury, now Plawecki gets drilled by a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
I mean, that pitch wasn't even close.
And this has been the issue with Guerrero. He throws extremely hard, but really doesn't have much of a clue where it's going. I don't know if it got him on that wrist band there, where he's got his play chart or whether it got him closer to the hand.
It sounded like flesh to me.
Well, this obviously is the last thing in the world the Mets need. Could have got him in the back of the hand, it looked like.
Boy. Back of the hand at 100.
So Tomas Nido in the dugout, just called up today, getting his helmet in case he needs to come in the game. Ryan Chiclo, the trainer, is going to send Plawecki down to first base. You still have to have some concern because, you know, it's a rough area with a lot of little bones.
I mean, he was being asked to squeeze his hand shut. He was having a hard time doing that.
And that's his catching hand. So we'll see. For the moment, though, Plawecki will go to first base carrying the tying run. Ahmed Rosario, the batter. Michael Conforto out on deck to pinch hit. So we'll see whether Rosario is asked to bunt. He had his first career sacrifice on Sunday night. Hadn't had one since 2015 in A-ball. Not bunting here, and he fouls back the fastball.
Rosario might be the only player on the Mets after a player was drilled with the first pitch at 100 miles an hour, still fearless to swing at the first pitch.
Conforto on deck to bat for Lagares, and then the pitcher's spot behind him. That's also of Adrian Gonzalez in the dugout. And quickly 0-2 to Rosario. Paul Sewald up in the bullpen for New York. Robert Gazelman is getting up as well. 0-2 to Rosario, and he got him with a slider. So Guerrero, after hitting Plawecki, strikes out Rosario on 3 pitches, 1 away.
A fastball and 2 sliders from Guerrero. This one a real good one.
So now Conforto, who didn't start tonight against the left-hander, started last night, went 2 for 4 and a walk, and Don Mattingly heading out toward the mound. He's only got one lefty in his bullpen. That's Chris O'Grady. And looks like O'Grady's coming in the game here to face Conforto. So Guerrero out, O'Grady in. Mets down 1-0 in the 8th. We'll be right back to Miami. Soft tossing lefty Chris O'Grady in to face Michael Conforto with the tying run at first. And he darts one inside for ball one.
O'Grady started in the Angels system last year, was released and then signed in April by the Marlins, where he started 6 games last year.
Pitched well so far this season, is the only lefty in that Marlins bullpen. And the slider gets him even on Conforto 1-1. Well, Kevin Plawecki hit on the hand by a pitch, and let me tell you, he's got himself a big purple bruise there. And I'm sure he'll go for x-rays later to see whether anything else has transpired. Plawecki no threat to be going.
He takes his lead. Plawecki's putting you know, the weight of his left hand on his leg. That's a good sign.
Conforto had a couple of hits against the left-hander last night. And he rockets this one down the right field line toward the corner. That's a fair ball. Plawecki on his way to third. It's dug out by Maben. Plawecki will be held at third base by Glenn Sherlock. It's a double for Michael Conforto, and the Mets have second and third and 1 out. So Conforto comes off the bench and ropes a double against the lefty.
Just a little breaking ball from O'Grady that stays in the middle of the plate. Nice hitting by Michael. And the speed of Maben to get to this ball, despite missing the cutoff man, he got it in quickly. And that's why Sherlock stopped Plawecki. As soon as he realized that Plawecki picks up his coach, 100% thinking of scoring, and Sherlock holds him up.
Interesting now, Mickey Callaway is going to go to Adrian Gonzalez against the left-hand pitcher. You've got Reyes and Nito, right-hand bats on the bench. He's going to go with the lefty Gonzalez. Second and third, 1 out. And he fouls off the first pitch, 0-1.
I like this unconventional move. Leave O'Grady out there. If you had a left-hander who threw 95 plus with a razor blade slider, you might make a different choice.
Middle infielders are back. They'll concede the tying run on a grounder. The corner infielders could come home. Plawecki not all that fast at third. Conforto faster at second. And Gonzalez takes the fastball inside. 1-1.
Don Mattingly made a lot of wholesale changes defensively to try to win this game 1-0.
He also took out his best power hitter, Justin Bohr, and boy, that spot could come up in the 9th inning if the Mets get even or go ahead. That's toward the middle. Base hit for Gonzalez. In is Plawecki. Here comes Conforto. Conforto scores, and the Mets take the lead. Mickey Callaway pushes the right button. He sends up the left-hand hitter, and Gonzalez comes through. Drives in a pair, and it's 2-1 New York.
Well, it's awful fun to watch when everything turns to gold. And the bat, the left-hander, veteran Gonzalez against O'Grady, turns into 2 runs. Again, it looked like a fastball. They were trying to come inside. And with that shift, that ball made it through.
So the Mets, who were held without a hit until 2 out in the 7th, now have the lead for Zach Wheeler, who's pitched 7 brilliant innings. And now Cabrera against the left-hander. Takes it high. Plawecki hit by a pitch to start the inning. And the 2 left-hand hitters off the bench, Conforto and Gonzalez, coming through against the lefty O'Grady, as Brian Chicolo takes another look at Plawecki's left hand. Two 2-0 to Cabrera.
Ball was supposed to be in. I think it was. It was just good hitting by Adrian. Yeah, in off the plate. And he still muscled it to center field.
Cabrera 0 for 3 tonight. And now O'Grady behind him, 3-0. Does he have it in him to jump another 3-0 pitch?
I don't know if he does that from the right side, right?
He got to hit 3-0 in the 6th inning and took a pitch before he popped up. Gonzalez at first and 1 out, and Cabrera takes a strike. Kenichi Tozawa, next man up in the Marlins bullpen. Guerrero charged with the first run in this inning, and O'Grady with the second. And Cabrera floats one into shallow center. Out goes Castro, and he can't get it. Gonzalez pulls it at second base. Brinson was playing very deep, so it was up to Castro to try and run it down. He got his glove on it, but it could not stick. It'll be a base hit for Cabrera, and the Mets have 2 men on.
Castro never really got comfortable chasing this ball, took the wrong angle, so made that play, which was difficult anyways, more difficult. And Gonzalez did exactly what you have to do. Just watch it, stop, and as soon as you see the play was dropped, get to second, because you don't want to be forced at second base. Got to get close enough.
Don Mattingly will make another pitching change. O'Grady faced 3 batters, gave up hits to all 3. Tozawa coming in, 2-1 Mets in the 8th. We'll be right back. Better. Harleen Garcia in his first big league start, 6 no-hit innings. Zach Wheeler, the first Met to go 7 this year, and he is now in line for a victory, having retired the last 16 batters he faced.
But by not pushing Harleen Garcia, who had 70+ pitches, any further, Don Mattingly now has had to use 4 different relievers. Tozawa on the first night, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts.
Braxton Lee is now in right field. Mattingly did not double switch that first pitching change. He double switches this time. So he's got Lee in the 9-hole now. And a first pitch curveball misses to Flores, ball 1. So that means the shortstop Rivera is hitting in the 4 spot, Boer's spot, and the pitcher is hitting 6th, which is now of great consequence for Miami, trailing in the game. That's what we're talking about, taking Boer out of the lineup in that kind of a situation. Wilmer is 0 for 3 tonight, lined out to short his last time up, and he drives one out to left field, chasing Dietrich back, way back. It's over his head and bounces over the wall. A ground rule double that'll bring in Gonzalez. Cabrera has to stop at third. Wilmer Flores with a ground rule double to drive in a run. The Mets have scored 3 runs in the 8th, and they lead it 3-1. And the hits just keep on coming.
Well, Tozawa after first pitch, breaking ball missed, tried to go inside with a fastball, left it down middle. Pummeled the left field over the head of Dietrich, and it's too bad because Cabrera had such a great jump. He would have scored easily if that ball stayed in the park.
So it's now a 2-run Met lead, and they're going to walk Cespedes intentionally and bring Todd Frazier to the plate with the bases loaded, which is fascinating considering how Cespedes has been struggling lately, but it does set up the double play possibility. Cespedes just 2 for his last 25. So Tazawa greeted rudely. The last 5 Mets have now all reached base. Conforto with the pinch hit double, Gonzalez with the pinch single that drove in 2, Cabrera with the pop fly single, Flores with the ground rule double to drive in a run, and now Cespedes intentionally walked to fill the bases for Frazier. Todd is 1 for 3 tonight. And takes the slider out of the strike zone for ball 1. Well, Garcia came out after 6 hitless innings. Steckenrider survived the 7th. But Guerrero, O'Grady, and Tazawa giving up the farm in the 8th. And Frazier trying to cash in a few more. And a fastball strike, 1-1. Last year, the Marlins lost 17 games in which they had the lead in the 7th inning or later. That tied for the most in the major leagues. So Donnie's been through this before.
Yeah. Last night's ball game, right?
Well, we mentioned earlier their bullpen has thrown more innings than any bullpen in the majors this year. The breaking ball by Tazawa, which made it that much more curious that they took Garcia out after 6. I could understand if he was at 95 or 100 pitches. He was at 77.
I agree.
And he had already had a 6-inning relief stint this year.
He at least had 1 more in him.
Frazier, the 8th man up in the inning. Jay Bruce on deck. One-two coming. And Todd pops one foul. I'll come back out of play. Tyler Cloyd up in the Marlins bullpen. He was just called up the other day. Well, Carlos Carrasco threw a complete game for the Indians tonight. 3-hitter in their win over the Tigers.
He's good. And you know, the Indians aren't scoring a lot of runs right now, and they're still winning.
Yep. Their team batting average coming into the night was 158. They're now 7-5. That's pretty amazing.
Yep.
And Frazier rockets one down the line, just foul. Todd hit a bullet. Looked like a splitter that stayed up from Tazawa, and it just went foul.
Hit it right on the nose. Good call by the third base umpire, DJ Rayburn.
Tazawa worked in the opening game of the series, gave up an unearned run in an inning and a third. Bases loaded, 1 out, 3 runs already home in the inning. And Frazier lays off. 2-2. You know, the book on Todd has always been that he will chase with 2 strikes, but he has really improved in that area the last couple of years. Seventh pitch of the at bat coming from Tazawa to Frazier. And a pop up into center field, tagging at third is Cabrera. He heads home. Brinson's throw to the plate skips on by. Cabrera scores. Flores moves to third. Cespedes down to second. It's 4-1 New York on the sacrifice fly by Todd Frazier.
Oh, battling at bat by Frazier. That was outstanding. You can see that Brinson's got a strong arm, but it's short-hopped Wallach at the plate, and he wasn't able to make the play.
Did they charge an error on the throw, allowing the runners to move up?
I think they did.
I hate that call.
Yeah, I hate it too.
And now they're going to intentionally walk Bruce to reload the bases. So it's a sacrifice fly bringing the run in, then an error on Brinson allowing the runners to move to second and third. Bruce intentionally walked, and now Tomas Nido will bat for Kevin Plawecki. So after Plawecki got hit on the hand, came around to score, they're going to take him out of the game, and Nido will take his spot. Tomas just called up from Double-A today. Mets had Jose Lobaton, the veteran at Triple-A, but he's not on the 40-man roster. Nido is, and that's why Nido is here right now.
Lobaton will be on the 40-man roster soon.
Well, if the diagnosis is correct and Darno has to have Tommy John surgery, then you can put him on the 60-day DL.
That's right.
Which opens up a spot on the 40-man, and then the Mets can decide whom they'd rather have here.
Nieves, the pitching coach, just out with the scouting report on Nido.
Nido had a cup of coffee with the Mets last September. Former minor league batting champion, but known more for his glove than for his bat. But he's got a chance here to do some instant damage. He was 3 for 10 when he came up last year, late in the season. Nido, who was born in Puerto Rico but grew up in Florida, gets a chance to bat in his home state with the bases loaded. Mets already have 4 runs home in the inning. And Nido hits one over the mound, but right to the bag. Castro steps on second for the force, and that puts an end to the inning. But 10 men came to bat for New York, and 4 of them scored. This group has been uncannily clutch. They lead 4-1 in the 8th. Thrown by a Mets pitcher during this road trip saves you 1% off select tickets to the upcoming homestand April 13th through the 18th. For more information, visit Mets.com/strikeouts. Changes for the Mets. Tomas Nido stays in the game behind the plate, taking over for Plawecki. We'll get that hand x-rayed, I'm sure. Michael Conforto stays in the game in center field after pinch hitting, and Robert Gazelman will pitch the 8th inning behind a brilliant performance by Zach Wheeler.
Gazelman's been outstanding, taking to the bullpen so far.
Lewis Brinson leads off in the 8th inning. The last base runner for the Marlins was a 2-out single by Chad Wallach. That came in the 2nd inning. Wheeler retired the last 16 batters after that hit in the 2nd. He was nothing short of brilliant. 7 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 83 pitches. And, you know, we talked in the early portion of his outing tonight about the fact that maybe he was just holding a place for Jason Vargas. You keep pitching like that, they'll keep a spot for
yeah,
him.
You know, if he lights it up, they will.
No, this is the embarrassment of riches that the Mets thought they were going to have last year.
Yeah.
Right? Now you've got Lugo and Gazelman, guys who could be starting, pitching incredibly well out of the bullpen. You've got Vargas on the disabled list, ready to come back perhaps in a couple of weeks. You've got Wheeler coming up from the minor leagues and giving a start like tonight. Brinson goes down on the sinker for the first out in the home 8th.
You know, that's really been the shocking thing about Gazelman, is that with that sinking fastball, he's turned into somehow a strikeout pitcher out of the bullpen.
Well, he's throwing harder.
The increased velocity.
You know,
yes.
when you've seen it with a lot of different guys.
That's right.
They go from starting to relieving, and all of a sudden they can let it all hang out for an inning or two instead of having to conserve a little for 5 or 6.
Here's the Jeep pitch cast on that last sinking fastball, down and in. It started in the strike zone, ends up a foot inside.
Looks like Familia's sinker.
That's right. That's right.
Wallach, the last man to reach for the Marlins. He had a single back in the 2nd. Here are your city probables for the series against the Brewers starting Friday night. Steven Matz against Zach Davies Friday night. Matt Harvey and Chase Anderson Saturday night. Noah Syndergaard Sunday afternoon against Jhoulys Chacin. Should be a nice night Friday night. Slider off the plate. Wallach 1 and 2.
If we're going to be truly honest, Gazelman was a guy who's kind of a 2-pitch pitcher, always searching for that 3rd pitch as a starting pitcher. So this should be a nice role for him anyway.
His last outing on Sunday night, he gave up a run in 2 innings against the Nats. Leadoff walk hurt him there. Braxton Lee, after a double switch, hitting 9th in the order. He's on deck. And Jerry Blevins staying ready. You got Lee and then Dietrich, both left-hand hitters coming up. Struck him out. Gazelman goes right back to the sinker to get Chad Wallach. Back-to-back strikeouts to start the bottom of the 8th.
Gazelman's featuring this disappearing sinker so far early in this season.
Dave Island says we may not need Jerry in this inning. Tell him to rest. Here's Braxton Lee, who started the first 2 games of this series. Lee last night 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
I like this move. You know, a lot of managers manage by the book, and they bring the left-hander in because it's a left-handed hitter up at the plate.
Line the other way, and that goes foul. You know, you could close this game with Gazelman. You could, if he gets Lee out, you could bring Blevins in to start the 9th with Dietrich due to lead off.
That's right. You know, sometimes you got to play your bullpen according to the score. You know, 3-run lead.
I mean, Familia has been terrific. He's got 6 saves in the Mets' first 10 games. No Met had ever done that before. But you'd love to save him tonight. Give him a couple of days off before the homestand begins Friday. 1 and 2 to Braxton Lee. And the slider has him twisting. 2 and 2. Struck him out. Gesellman strikes out the side in the bottom of the 8th, making Lee look silly. We go to the 9th, 4-1 New York. Some of our crew trying out the fare from Cafe Lugo. Seth doesn't have an interest in that.
I don't think so.
Let's see. Tomas Talis comes in to play first. Miguel Rojas goes back to short. Yadiel Rivera moves to right field, and Tyler Cloyd into pitch as Ahmed Rosario leads off in the 9th. There's Rivera in right.
Well, Tyler Cloyd, 18th round draft pick of the Phillies, made his debut against the Mets.
Fly ball out to right center, hit well. Rivera back in the gap, gets over there, almost overruns it for the first out. What a change of fortune in this game. The Mets were held without a hit for the first 6 innings by Harleen Garcia, but he was pulled after 77 pitches in his first big league start, and the Mets getting to the Marlins bullpen for 4 runs in the 8th inning to support wonderful pitching tonight by Zach Wheeler. Robert Gesellman came in to strike out the side in the bottom of the 8th, and the Mets are 3 defensive outs away from their 8th consecutive win. What a start. Conforto up for the 2nd time. He had a pinch hit double in that big 8th inning. Coming up after we're done here, it's WB Mason postgame live. Gary Apple and Nelson Figueroa will be along with all the highlights, the interviews, the analysis, all that stuff.
Well, there'll be a lot to talk about, right? Not only with the decision by the Marlins, but also the excellence of Wheeler.
And of course the injury to Darno and potential injury to Plawecki. That's really the one stain on what this team has accomplished so far. All of a sudden they might have a serious catching situation. Conforto strikes out on the breaking ball by Cloyd for the 2nd out, and we'll be anxiously awaiting the results of what I presume will be x-rays on Plawecki's hand. I mean, they took him out of the game. One would presume that they will check it and make sure there's no broken bone.
I mean, a lot of ballparks now in today's game have an x-ray machine on property, so it'll be interesting if we get an answer before we get on the bus.
Here's Jose Reyes batting for the pitcher. Reyes, the last available player on the Mets bench tonight. Mets have a 4-man bench.
The most interesting decision for Callaway was whether to throw up Reyes there against the left-hander O'Grady. He opted for Gonzalez.
And Reyes lifts one to right field. Another chance for Yadiel Rivera. And he puts it away to retire the side. 1-2-3 go the Mets in the top of the ninth. 3 outs to get. 4-1 New York. Surrounding this Mets team on Mets blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV.
Some good feelings right now, right?
Yeah, I think so. Jerry Blevins in to start the ninth inning. We'll see whether he gets the entire inning or just the one batter.
You and I were talking in the break. It really changes not having Bourne in the lineup, taking him out in the 1-0 game. Don Mattingly did, and so Jerry probably wouldn't have been able to start this inning.
Right. Or would have been due up fourth in the inning. A.J. Ramos staying busy in the bullpen. Dietrich struck out all 3 times against Wheeler tonight, and he takes a changeup for a strike, and it's 1-1. Derek Dietrich takes on Jerry Blevins today by AARP.
I mean, Jerry's an older player, but that's a little too much.
Is that 2 straight changeups he's thrown?
Yes, he has.
That may be a new record for him. So Jerry changing the program a little bit. Normally fastball, curveball. You got Rojas, Castro, Rivera, 3 right-hand hitters behind Dietrich. He pulls that one right to Flores at first for the first out, and that's going to be the only batter Blevins faces. So he got his man, retires Dietrich on the soft line drive, and now Ramos will be called upon to try and get the final 2 outs of the night. 4-1 New York, and the former Marlin A.J. Ramos coming in. but it is possible. Right?
Continue to play the way they're playing right now.
A.J. Ramos, not a save situation. We'll try and get the final 2 outs with a 4-1 lead after Blevins retired the first batter in the 9th. Miguel Rojas hit a long home run in the first inning for the only Marlins run. For a long time, that was the only run in the game. And a first pitch curveball from Ramos misses for ball 1. A.J. closed games here in Miami for better than 4 seasons. And being asked to finish the game tonight, trying to give Familia a night off. And he runs it inside to Rojas, 2-0. Seth Lugo will stay busy in case Ramos needs backup. And now 3-0. Castro on deck, 3-0 to Rojas. And he misses low, so a 4-pitch walk right out of the chute by Ramos. And now the Marlins need just one more base runner to get the tying run to the plate. Coming up tonight at 11 o'clock, Geico Sports Night, all the Major League news and notes. OBJ's in that Sports Night rundown every night.
Another update on him?
Every night. Knicks and Nets done. We had the Toronto Raptors in our hotel.
That's right.
What a great year they've had. Best record in the East, right?
Yes. One of their players was rehabbing in the pool today.
There's Starlin Castro. And there's the first strike thrown by Ramos on a cutter, 0-1. Castro's flied out twice and struck out. Now you could have written it down when Mattingly made the change, right?
Yeah.
And when in the dirt, Nito knocks it down. That the guy on deck, which would have been Justin Bohr, is now not.
That's right.
It's Yadiel Rivera hitting in the cleanup spot, waiting on deck. Again, the situation was, it was a 1-0 game. Bohr had not made the last out, and it was only the 8th inning, it wasn't the 9th. So there was every chance that his spot was going to come up again. And, you know, you're relying on your bullpen to be perfect to keep it a 1-0 game. And they couldn't do that.
An overworked bullpen.
And so sure enough, you know, Castro gets on here. You would have had Bohr coming up as the tying run. Now you don't. And it's just exacerbated by the fact that he is the one guy in that lineup who you think is capable of hitting a ball out when you need it. Ramos just misses away with a fastball, and it's 2-2. Rojas at first with 1 out. 2-2 to Castro. And the breaking ball fouled off. I'm not sure I've ever seen a late game reliever throw as many different pitches as A.J. Ramos does.
He pitches almost like a starting pitcher with all of those pitches. 4 pitches he brings in.
Chopper. Frazier's got it. Out at second and out at first, and the ball game is over. The Mets around the horn double play puts a close to their 8th consecutive win. The Mets are now 10-1 on the year. They're going to hold this one to make sure that the Marlins don't challenge. But a neat double play to end this game.
Well, we've seen them do this now time and time again. Frazier gets to it. Great turn by Cabrera with something on it.
No challenge by the Marlins. And the Mets, with a 5-4-3 double play, put a close to a 4-1 victory, marking the season debut of Zach Wheeler, who was just tremendous. The Mets, who were no hit for the first 6, rally for 4 in the 8th And they win their 8th straight game as they sweep this road trip. Go 6-0 in Washington and Miami, heading home with a 10-1 record.
Well, they'll be greeted nicely when they get back to Citi Field. But what a road trip.